speaker with us today are Shri Suresh Sarangi, the first speaker. He is a retired banker and columnist. I must introduce him, Suresh Chandra Sarangi, after completion of his post-graduation in political science from Utkal University, Odisha, India, joined as assistant professor in SCS College, Puri. After 2 years of teaching, he pursued a career in banking and retired as general manager of Bank of India. He is a writer, an orator, a columnist, contributing to 4 English dailies. He is a member of National Stock Exchange, Grievances Redressal Mechanism of Odisha chapter, and has remained chairman of the interview committee of Indian Banking Personnel Service for recruitment of bank officer. So many years in recent past. He is an avid reader and spent his time in delivering speeches and writing articles to different newspapers. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Suresh Sarangi to deliver his address. Yes, yes. Now you are audible. Yes, yes.
Good evening to you, Professor Francisco, UNESCO Chair, and Shikanta Patnaik, my co-speakers, and all the viewers. This is a great debate which has been said today by Professor Francisco. And this is indeed a very difficult time that our world is passing through. Because the topic for this is that economic systems and human rights challenges of our times. Before I go to human rights or economic systems and challenges of, I will go through the challenges of the time. Just after the COVID, and the world is brought to a standstill position, then we face very critical situation when Russia attacks Ukraine, and thereafter the run through inflation throughout the world, and the economy of the countries is devastated beyond repair. Inflation 40 years high at some places. The rates are being increased by the central banks in almost all countries to tame inflation. And at the height of all those things, then another back-to-back war takes place at Israel and the Palestine, when the Palestinian group of Hamas attacked all of a sudden immediately. And in this moment, capitalism also undergoing through so many changes, and the changes brought out in socialism as well as in communism by Gorbachev through his book. But I say the perestroika or restructuring and glasnost, the openness, again brings new themes for discussion. And all the world is listening to has listened to the August, the very ghastly murder of Lloyd George, a violation of human rights in a capitalist system like USA, or Jack Ma disappearing from the business site and not here in a state control capitalism in China, and Nargis Muhammad receiving the Nobel Prize for Peace while fighting for human rights in Iran. So, Professor Sanskrito, your speech has mesmerized the entire audience, and I will find it very difficult to speak a few lines against your very prudent and erudite speech. I'm no economist, I'm a student of political science. Still then, in my understanding, whatever I have learned about capitalism, I have to say that private property and ownership of private property is the key of capitalism. Capitalism was when the means of production changed. If you read Karl Marx, we know that the system of change in production or the modes of production is the change in the economic system. That is when it was flowers and all that. we had a feudal system, and when there is industrial revolution, and we had a capital system, as it has transformed the way the things are produced with the volume. And the basic thing of this capital system has remained private self-interest and competition. That is cutthroat competition between parties, because there is a freedom to enter into the fray and have your innovations, have your choices felt across. So this is done through a market mechanism, and the market mechanism depends upon the laws of demand and supply. And this market mechanism is again decentralized and automatic without any interference. And this freedom to choose is one of the most important things and depends upon the production, consumption, and investment. In all those things, one's free choice is more important. And that is what capitalism professes. Here, the role of the government becomes very limited. And the limited role of a government and state is considered as a necessary evil. That individual is the supreme, individual is the fulcrum through which the entire thing travels. Rather, the substructure becomes the individual, and the superstructures are all other things. This market is again a free market. The forces operating in the market set the price, set the laws of demand without interference, whether it is land, whether it is house, whether it is bonds, whether it is equities. And this is a consumer's perception of the market ultimately decide what should be in the market, what product should be in the market, and the interplay of the products in the market as well. So when capitalism was going ahead with the innovation in the today's age, as we say, the computer and internet have changed life beyond proportion. The economic systems definitely matter a lot in proliferation of science, technology, and innovation. So we do not know. Life is changing faster than what we presume it to be. And artificial intelligence and other things have penetrated into our life. But no doubt, the economic system plays a major role without that. But the most pathetic problem in a capital structure is the inequality that is increasing day by day. The gap between the rich and poor has been phenomenal. It's very difficult to comprehend the same. So who thinks in terms of the poverty, and there is a poverty trap under which millions of people are suffering without house, without insurance, without healthcare, without education. And this became more pathetic when COVID broke out. And when the COVID broke out, the entire world was brought into a grinding halt. During that period, what we saw that there is a divide between the rich and poor. The rich benefiting from the system, the poor are not cared for. They are crying on the roads. They are crying in their houses without food, without shelter, without health. And this was available in all the system, more or less, more so in a capital system, when inequalities is very, very disproportionate. So with these developments in capitalism, people like Milton Friedman appears, and they have said about liberty and all other things in society. But so far, one of the problem in capitalism is that liberty is taken as a license sometimes, but liberty should not be taken as a liberty. Liberty is a social contract and not a personal affair. And therefore, we should think in terms of capitalism should have a human face. Because of this destitution against which Karl Marx and Engels wrote in their book, Das Kapital, that workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your sense. And they have expected this entire world till today is a process of a class struggle, the dominated class and those who are dominated, the exploiter and exploited. But is capitalism believes in taxation, but it believes in the percolation theory that the more the tax we collect, even the inequality increases between the rich and the poor, and the poor will be paying the tax, and this will be going for the welfare of the weak or the meek or the poverty-stricken people. So this is a capital system. Capital system is a good system, but the perpetuation of inequities is creating a difference in the minds of those who are suffering or the sufferer. Therefore, capitalism has to have a human face, and that human face Milton Friedman has discussed very nicely. Even to that extent, Milton Friedman said that it is one type of liberalism where freedom is the most important thing. And since capitalism believes in the doctrine of freedom, then we must believe in the concepts of a capitalist society. So as an economic system, the capitalist system is very good, but because it gives individual freedom, importance, as well as the creative faculties of a human being are explored to the best under such a system. So it is a better system, but it should have, in my language, a bias of its own when it has a human face, so that the system continues as democratic capitalism for many, many years. Let us think in terms of communism. Communism is an idea which came through the great thinker Karl Marx and the Friedrich Engels. In their Communist Manifesto, they have said all hitherto societies are societies which are involved in class struggle, the exploiter and exploited. There are two classes, and they wanted to liberate one class out of that. This exploitation was very severe, they say, after the laborers were exploited by the capitalists when there was an industrial evolution. So this is an economic system which believes in the doctrine of from is according to his capacity and to is according to his necessity. And how does that happen? This happens only when the entire properties and resources is transferred to the in the capacity of the state being the benefactor, and the state will control through it. And in communism, the parties, that is the Communist Party here in case of Russia, it became powerful. There was Lenin who thought and dreamed of party, and the central committee of the party, the most important. So in the individual here is lost. The individual initiative, faculties, or creativity got lost in this economic system of communism. And this is believed in the theory of a collectivism, that the state is superior and thinks over everybody, and feels that there should be equitable distribution of wealth. And this equitable distribution of wealth will take away the inequity so far as income is concerned. And necessarily communism came as a philosophy that spoke about more about economic equality than inequality that is seen But communism gradually became what we see in China, state capitalism, and what we see in Russia, oligarchy capitalism. All these two countries or other countries, there are also where the proletariat is more powerful, the party is powerful, the powers are all handed over to the party, and whether it writes, it thinks rightly or wrongly, the decision of the party is imposed upon you, and you are subjugated under a system, economic system, where you do not have your freedom and choice to carry forward your pursuits. So, most important thing so far as the communism is concerned is a centralized planning, where again the party thinks in terms of development. It's not dependent upon the market forces, and though they think in terms of greater equality, but today the Russian oligarch rule Russia, Soviet Russia. It's no more the equality. There is so much of inconformities viewed in the Russian Soviet system that under its own pressure and the inherent cracks and insensibilities, it gave away, and ultimately the US was broken, and communism philosophy was given a goodbye. But still then it has taken a new shape in China, again under that party dictatorship. And the party dictatorship, again, individual becomes an individual dictatorship where democracy has been given a goodbye. So this communism philosophy is totally diametrically opposite to the philosophy of capitalism. And here they strongly believe that the individual will grow when the state take care as per the centralized planning. So innovation, creativeness, everything has been. They say that public control of the means of production, distribution, and exchange will definitely see that all individuals are benefited through this economic system. So that equitable distribution and the equality of all the people have become a chimera. As the state was disintegrating, when it was disintegrating, Gorbachev wrote his book, Perestroika means restructuring, and Glasnost means opening. And with Perestroika and Glasnost, he wanted to reshape the United Soviet Socialist Republic with the disintegration of some of the states and all that. I'll come to human rights. What has happened in the capitalist society, what has happened in the communist society. But the third form of economic system is socialism. So there are many other guild socialism, all type Fabian socialism, so there are so many things. But truly socialism as a doctrine believe in the concept of the same thing like communism, that there should not be income disparity, and there should be rather income equality, and that is what they think. But the fact remains that socialism cannot sustain unless it has the power of democracy. Socialism is a medium, and socialism is a destination, but democracy becomes the medium. Through democracy, only we can achieve. So it is an economic system which addresses inequities in distribution, inequities in exchange, inequities in production. That's why this is something, a hybrid system of economy, where what is the best in the capitalism and what is the best in the communism, they get merged. The innovations, the creative faculties, the individual pursuit of wealth, health and goodness remain there along with the public ownership of wealth. In some sectors, like health, like education, like we can say health, education, roads, buildings, and insurance. So state interferes and state prepares policies, the health policies or the social security policies that govern all of us. So this also believes in the system of collectivism, and here the other name of socialism as an economic concept or economic model has been transformed and has become democratic socialism. And in democratic socialism, it is through democracy, to an elected government, to the political party who pulls the maximum number of votes and comes to power. The debate goes on. And they actually decide. And that's why people here surrender their power to form a government to the elected representative who think in terms of electing the people. Otherwise, that one vote is more powerful that can spoil the government if they are losing by one vote. So this type of system is introduced in India, democratic socialism. That is centralized planning. But centralized planning is only what the public sector needs, whether in the ways of production, distribution, or exchange. And it appears that there is greater equality in those this system of socialism than the other two. This is also opposed to capitalism, and the transfer of powers through election to a people who are representing the majority wishes under a majoritarian government will definitely think in terms of the good of the people. We can take Rousseau's general will, and they really represent the general will. And in this type of public ownership as well as private ownership, we say it is a mixed economy. So it is a balance of both the system rather than the hybrid, and that is why public control of a means of production, distribution, and exchange maintains a balance in a society which is not too much oligarchic or capitalist, neither where the state capitalism and party is all powerful. The state has not. There are so many things in communism and capitalism. Karl Marx himself had said that the state will wither away, the class will wither away, but nobody has seen the state being state has withered away. Rather, state has become more powerful, either in communist Russia or in communist, where it is a firm state capitalism. So state has not withered away. Class struggle has also not withered away. There are oligarchs in the US structure. There are oligarchs in the Soviet Russia structure, and there are oligarchs also in the Chinese economy. So that is why this has become not possible, and the prophecy of the great leader doesn't seem to be appearing true in the economic arena. So let us feel that democratic socialism, as it is done in India, which also believes in a planning, as well as which gives individual enterprise, the right to enterprise, the right to creation, the right to investment, the right to distribution, exchange, everything is remaining there. So that's why democratic socialism as an economic system has progressed a lot. So let us come, because I know I have been given 45 minutes, and within 45 minutes I have to finish my lecture, and I feel little to say after the speech of Professor Francisco, which is so beautifully orchestrated. Cyrus, who was the king of Persia, had attacked Babylon and had won some in 6th century BC. And at that time, Silo had released all the people who were jailed in the prisons, the slaves, giving them the freedom to choose their rights, to choose their religion, to choose their economic activities. And that for us is the first thing that happened to mankind so far as the story of human rights is concerned. And thereafter came Magna Carta in 1215. And if I clearly recollect, it was King George, and the Magna Carta was the first charter of rights that gave the opportunity to the people to bargain with the government. It gave people the inalienable rights which they inherited by becoming the creation of a God. And they said that you cannot detain a person, you cannot abolish the human rights of any person. You should think in terms of the rights of these people, so as social, economic, political rights as well. Thereafter, economic rights becomes something which is became most important. If you are economically powerful, then you can pursue your career, you can pursue your studies, you can have your education, you can have your leisure, you can have your contribution to arts and commerce and anything of the sort. So, human rights, the economic rights became more rights, the more important right, out of which the political, social, and civil as well as legal rights emanated. But originally, it was a political right in the Magna Carta. Then in 1948, December 10, is observed as World Human Rights Day, when the human rights were formed, which Professor Francisco has already said, it's an inalienable rights of human being. If somebody is arrested, he cannot be arrested without the due process of law, and he has to be heard. There is no, and you cannot detain without hearing him indefinitely. These are the rights that protects the individual against the tyranny of the state. What type of state? It may be capitalist or socialist or communist. So this is what is more important, that the human rights, there are flagrant violations throughout the year. We now see the war. In a war, those who lose everything economically, they also become slaves to the people who are the victors or who capture them, whether it is Russia, whether it is this state. Even you can think in terms of North Korea, what is happening there? Nobody knows. Under a absolute state control. What is happening in China also, we do not know. The freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the other type of freedoms, freedom to move anywhere is curtailed. And that is how your human faculties can never exist, nor it can grow. So under this situation, there are always revolution throughout the world. People have fought against this to maintain the human rights. And there are examples, many examples. Shri Suresh Chandra is a person from India who fought against child labor. Children who do not know what is the world. And Suresh Chandra will see that these people are working in the mines, in the hazardous industries with meager income, without any social security, and they have destroyed everything so far the child's future is concerned. This is not true of only India or Suresh Chandra. This is true of the entire world. Whether a child who has to grow up to a human being is suffering because the human rights are taken away. And the greed has come to play here, where a minimum payment is done, then to them compensation. And they are deprived of their human rights like education, like their health, like their upliftment, all those things. Then also, let us think in terms of human rights in a capital system like America. Let us think in terms of Rosa Parks. What happened to Rosa Parks? Rosa Parks was simply a black lady who came and purchased a ticket, sat in the ticket seat. But after some time, somebody comes and say, a white man say, you should leave this. He said, why? I have paid. If the state is collecting tax, I have paid. No, you have to sit. And ultimately, she is thrown away. And what Rosa Parks does? She sits in a dharana, the boycott, Gandhian principle of that non-violent aggression. And the entire black community is they boycott the public transport system. And the public transport system suffers like anything. And thereafter, it becomes a victory for the Rosa Parks, who ensured that all those people who are suffering of exploitation, should say, the same thing of Martin Luther King and all other leaders. And finally, also during Trump's presidency, what is suffering for the Clive Lloyd, that George Lloyd? See, if you would have not kept him tagged to the ground, perhaps this man would not have died. So what type of atrocities? He has a human right. He can protest. If the protest is becoming violent, you can arrest him, and it can be consideration. So this is in a society which speaks the mother of democracy, and George Floyd is a symbol of the exploitation that is still going on in the society. Think in terms of also American society, capitalist, or British who were the first capitalists, where the industrial revolution, Renaissance, everything started. The women were not given to vote till 1955. A country like India, which is 300 years under the British rule, incorporated the right to vote. The Women Suffrage Act and all that passed in the year 1947. And from that day, from the day of the Constitution, the Indian women are born equally free with the women. Even recently, they have passed the 33% 33% to be procured for the women who will participate in election. So that speaks about the very, very, I should say, new, not new idea, rather a radical changed idea from those countries who always speak in terms of democracy and do this. What is happening to women there? Or what do women? That is a factor. If you do not give women the economic, social, political, legal equality, then here is a flagrant violation of human rights. Then, if we think in terms of Russia, it is an all-told story of a misery, of a human sacrifice on the altar of the state, I would like to say. Just see what type of a problem started in Russia. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the jailed person who wrote his book, that the Gulag Archipelago, or the cancer ward, or the one day in the life of Ivan Denisov, which describes it so pitiably. Even another lady, she was also gone against that Soviet system. During Lenin, it was considered that the party is an iron curtain, and you do not have any right to think in terms of what is happening in the government and what is happening to the individual. So, if you see the course of human rights, you have seen that despite innovation, the human rights have been violated. Yes, the conditions have improved. Because after the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, after the Bill of Rights, first Magna Carta Bill of Rights in the UK, and thereafter the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1940 December, and this has been revisited again in 2023. It's not possible to highlight on those policies now. It becomes a bit difficult. But let us think in terms of India, because once we are discussing and from India, India is a free country where everybody has a right to vote. Whether the president of India or even the poorest of the poor, belonging to any caste, color, creed, or economic status, region, religion, has one vote. That is how you ensure democratic rights. Many suits have been finalized in favor of the individual in Indian Supreme Court. And that's why it is known as Indian Constitution is a people's constitution. Indian Constitution, through the fundamental rights, which are Charter of Rights, which are borrowed from either Magna Carta or from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, protects all these rights. The right to equality, the right to freedom, the right to property, all those things, the right to religion, all those things. But the most beautiful of all these things is the right to constitutional remedies. And the right to constitutional remedies gives the poorest of the poor, the weakest person, to strike against a state, and the Supreme Court of India delivers justice to the person. So the Constitution is the protector of our human rights, and there have been also many human rights offices throughout the states which protect the human rights. Because my time is coming to an end, as Professor Shrikant Patnaik has given to me, I would like to say the contours of human rights is changing, no doubt in it. Once upon a time, it was exploitative. Once upon a time, the big, rich were controlling the reins of power. But in a democracy, and like India's government of democratic socialism, where there is a freedom to debate, discuss, and decide, has come to the fore. And this democratic socialism ensures a type of government where the individual is not sacrificed on the altar of the state. Rather, it is a partnership between the state and the individual, and the individual grows all opportunities. You see, government has been doing so much, Indian government has done so much, like minimum job assurance for 240 days. It's not a small thing. That job assurance, it is the power, it's an economic power. Or through the public distribution system, all those things, the rations are available to the people. Many governments are coming with political biases and reason, different system which is too much bad, but still then the constitution protects us. Think in terms of the emergency in India in 1975-76, Indira Gandhi suspended all the fundamental rights which are contained in the Part 3 of Indian Constitution. And what happened thereafter? The entire state was a prison. People suffered like anything. There was no freedom and expression. Human rights was given a goodbye in the state of India for 2 years. And what happened? In 1977, people threw the government, and democracy has that power. Here I wanted not to highlight what happened in that period, but I wanted to say that it is democracy which can be projected as the greatest thing that protects human rights totally, whether the system or any system. The latest thing that is appearing, if you think in terms of social capital by Thomas Piketty and all that, you would find to see that the state is now becoming a welfare state. From cradle to the grave, the human being is taken care of by the state, which is not absolutist, which is not despotic, which is not authoritarian, rather democratic, and thinks in terms of the of delivering justice and equity to the people. So, considering from that point of view, I would like to say that the contours of fundamental rights is changing always. The nationwide riots and all that happened in the capital system of America, who thinks themselves to Democrat but never allowed the blacks to vote. But what happened in South Africa, where Nelson Mandela stands as the champion of human rights, borrowing the idea from Mahatma Gandhi, who objected in South Africa against the violation of not allowing him to sit in the train because he was not a white. So the world is gradually becoming conscious. And more than that, it is the power of technology. The technology has given opportunity to those who have access to knowledge, even if they are poor yesterday, today they are Basa. They are people who can control things. They are people who matter in administration, who matter in science, technology, and everything. So I should say, technology is going to be great leveler and exploitation of people cannot take. You may be the son of a king, or you may be the son of a capitalist. But if the farmer's son knows more than what you know, and by deep virtue of his access to computer, internet, e-commerce, and all that, he is today in a very prized position. You cannot smash him and take away his human rights. It will be really impossible to do that. Technology has definitely changed the shape of our life, and technology has definitely rather surpassed human rights. So now people can never be so much unequal. It is a world which is not horizontally divided, but it is a world which is vertically divided. And in this vertical division, there is upward class mobility by choosing one's occupation, by dint of its one's own labor and intellect. And I feel the way this Iranian lady, Madam Nargis Mohammad, received a Nobel Prize, and the way for education, all those people who have received. The thing is, the world leaders now should think in terms of a social democracy. They should think in terms of equitable distribution. They should think in terms of opportunity. Then the world will be a better place to live. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Sarangi, for your scholastic talk. And I hope everyone must have received enormous input from your talk, from different forms of economic system, from different human right in different economic system. You have elaborated very nicely.